today I'm going to be doing the Unpopular Opinions book tag. I will leave the link to the original tag in the description, but essentially here are my possibly unpopular opinions. I'm not usually negative, so I thought this would be fun to do because usually I'm very, I don't know, I kind of look for the good in everything. Very few things to satisfy me to the degree that I have to gripe about it or whatever, but here are my possibly unpopular opinions. So the first one is a popular book or series that you didn't like. And this actually is easy for me to pick and this might be unpopular, but it is Station 11. There were a ton of people that loved this book and I was excited to give it a try. I thought that the premise sounded good. So I read the book and I did not like it at all. I thought that the whole, resolution and everything was very contrived. In case you don't know, Station 11, essentially there is a massive pandemic, for lack of a better term. I don't know if I want to talk about this now, but this sudden illness hits, lots of people immediately die, and the rest of the world kind of has to hunker down and get by. One group that we specifically follows ends up at this airport where they're stranded and they live there. Now, that whole premise is fine. I'm fine with pandemic books. I've read quite a few. But what bothered me about this one is that the grid goes down and nobody can fix anything. Literally no one. And you would say, well, they couldn't travel here or there, but there's a theater group that is formed and they can travel to these locations and somehow that's okay, but they can't figure out a way to turn the grid back on. I'm sorry, that whole thing just, it bothered me. So yeah, I did not enjoy Station 11. I'm not really looking forward to the movie should it get made. Just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't work for me at all. I liked some of the characters, I liked some of the storylines, but in general, I did not care for that book. Next is a popular book or series that everyone else seems to hate but you love. This one's harder because I don't know if one actually exists, but I will just go based on recent comments or things that I see around the internet. One would be A Court of Thorns and Roses, the whole series. It gets a lot of flack now, but I still love those books. I found them very enjoyable. Were they perfect writing? No, but I liked the journey. I liked having just this romantic fairy fantasy. I liked it, I think it gets too much. And another one would be the Shadowhunters universe in general. I know that gets a lot of flack, some of that because of the author herself, but if I am being honest, I still really like that universe. I recently finished Chain of Gold this year and I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the world. I'm sorry. I love it. And I'm still going to read it. When the next book comes out, I will be reading it. This feels kind of relieving. So the next one is a love triangle where the main character ended up with the person you did not want them to end up with. Or you could do an OTP that you didn't like. I'm actually going to go with the love triangle one. Love triangles are not my favorite thing, and I think that a lot of fiction, and especially YA fiction, doesn't get it right. But one area where I often find engaging love triangles is actually in manga. Shoujo manga, I think, sometimes does love triangles, or even more than triangles, very well. And one that just sticks into my mind where I definitely rooted for the other character, even though I knew he wasn't going to get the girl. I just loved him so much. And that was Anonymous Noise. So spoilers for Anonymous Noise. I am going to say who ends up with who. But in Anonymous Noise, Alice ends up with Momo, and there was nothing wrong with the two of them. They were a fine couple. I mean, they're fine. They were fine. But Yuzuru was a much better character. His development was better. He was really the protagonist of the whole story. It wasn't even Alice. It was Yuzu. He was the main character. And I just rooted for him. I thought that his story and his connection with Alice was better. They made each other better. They couldn't work without the other one. I just love Yuzu. So the one thing I am glad that they did not do for that series, or that the author didn't do, is develop a love interest for Yuzu, because that's actually one of my pet peeves, where you will go through like the whole series and it will be kind of this love triangle feeling, and then suddenly at the very end they'll introduce like character B, and she'll be like the perfect girl for the letdown love triangle component, and I hate that. I hate that even more than love triangle itself. So there you go, anonymous noise. Next is a popular book genre that you hardly reach for. This is easy for me too. It's political thrillers. I love thrillers. Domestic thrillers, thrillers like that are fine, but I do not like political thrillers. So this year I read Hunt for Red October. I was trying to finalize that Great American Read, which I've read most of the books on the Great American Read list. But I thought I'd finally get to the Hunt for Red October, and I just couldn't connect with that book. Political thrillers are just not for me. They're not the genre for me, and I think that people have to understand that. Now, would I be willing to give another political thriller a try? Yeah, especially if it was well reviewed. I definitely would, because like I said before, I'm pretty easy to please. I always look for the good in books, even if I really hate it. It's just my style. Like if I review it, I will look for the good. I'll look for the pros, and then I'll tell you the cons of them. But yeah, there was nothing wrong with The Hunt for Red October. The Jack Ryan series is immensely popular. I definitely would recommend it to political thriller readers. I just don't really connect to political thrillers. They're not my thing. It's not my genre. Next is a popular or beloved character that you do not like. There's actually two that I was going back and forth between choosing, and I decided to go with the one that I have seen on a lot of like romantic lists and people just loving this character, and I don't get it, and I didn't really like the character, and that is Mr. Rochester from Jane Eyre. I don't get it. I think that he was kind of creepy. He lied to Jane, and he kept his first wife locked up in an attic. I mean, she might have been crazy or whatever, but I mean, it wasn't going to help her to get any better by locking her up in an attic. He just made a lot of choices that were questionable, and I didn't like, and I didn't like his lying and deceit about the whole thing. I don't think that he's some romantic character that people should be idolizing, but some people do. If that's your bag, fine, but I just, I don't like him. So, moving on. The next one is a popular author that you just can't seem to get into. I suppose I would have a lot of answers to this, but I actually don't hate James Patterson. I would say James Patterson because I really don't read James Patterson, and his catalog is too large and I just can't get into it. But I did read 2 James Patterson books, and I have read his Maximum Ride series. So I don't really want to say James Patterson because I've read Patterson. You know what? Forget it. I'm going to stick with James Patterson as my answer. No. You know what? I'm not. I'm going to go with E.L. James. And she's going to tie into another question that I answer in a little bit. But honestly, E.L. James. I'm sorry. I'm never going to pick up one of your books. You have sold a lot of copies of books, but I'm just never going to get into you unless you write something amazingly remarkable, which I don't see happening, but I see you listed and I'm not going to read it. I'm sorry. Let's see. Next is a popular book trope that you're tired of seeing. And this is easy for me as a fantasy reader. It is the lost royalty trope. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And especially if the lost royalty is also just this special snowflake with amazing abilities. And so somehow they had no idea that they were this missing royalty. And somehow they had no idea that they had amazing powers. But once the narrative of the story starts, like, bam, you know, that's going to be the big discovery is, oh, I'm the missing heir to this kingdom, and I have all these amazing powers that can save everyone. I'm sorry. I hate it. That was one thing I appreciated about the Queen's Rising duology from Rebecca Ross, is that I was worried the whole time that the main character was going to be the missing or lost princess, queen, and she wasn't. Thank goodness, because I would have knocked that book down very far if she had been the lost queen. I would have just been like, no, I'm done. So that is the one trope that I'm sick of seeing. I don't really care about it. If it's well done, I'm okay with it, but more often than not, it's just like thrown in there and you're like, yeah, I get it. You know, this amazing person is also the missing king, queen, whatever. Ugh, no more, thank you, please. So the next one is the one that goes with the other question, and it's a popular series that you have no interest in reading. And yeah, 50 Shades of Grey, Yale James, I'm sorry, no. I did read I struggled to read, got through it, the first book for the Great American Read, because it was like, dang it, I'm gonna try to get through this list of all the books on the Great American Read, and I did not have a good time. I did not like that book at all. I didn't even think it was sexy. I am sorry. That was not a good book. It was just so poorly written. I couldn't stand the main character, and no, sorry, E.L. James, but you're dropped. Like, you and your books are dropped. I don't like you. I don't know about you personally. I don't like your literary creation. I'm sure you're fine with that because you've already sold tons and made tons of money, so you don't need me, and that's good because I don't want you. And the last one is, the saying goes, the book is always better than the movie, but what movie or TV show adaptation do you prefer more than the books? This is hard. I was actually thinking about this from different levels, and I don't know about do I enjoy them more, but two choices that are definitely at least on par with the books, and so I can enjoy both at the same level. One would be The Princess Bride. I adore that movie. It is honestly one of my favorite movies. I think I can say like every line along with the movie. It's so good, and yes, I do love and have the book as well. That one I would almost be close to having the movie edge out the book just a little bit. That would be like a smidge. And the other movies that I appreciate just as much as the books is The Lord of the Rings, and specifically the extended version. Oh, I can spend a day watching that and not feel bad at all. Like, I just love immersing myself in that world. I love it so much. So that would definitely be on par with the book. I am good with both of those. And another one that's kind of funny, and I was debating just having this be the answer, but it would actually be the movie Something Borrowed, which they made quite a few changes from the book, especially with the character of Ethan. And I think I like those changes more than the book. So that one's, debatable, but I don't know. I appreciated the small changes that occurred in the movie compared to the book. So those are my unpopular opinions. Feel free to do your own and share them. I don't know how unpopular they actually are. I think there's quite a few people that might agree with me. And you're welcome to comment below if you do, or if you disagree. Go ahead and tell me why. Make sure you tell me why. Don't just say like, no, your opinion's bad. Like, tell me why you disagree. If you did not find Station 11 contrived, tell me what you enjoyed about that, because that'd actually be a literary pet peeve of mine, is that when there's a pandemic, that somehow the grid goes down and nobody can fix it. That's a huge, massive, just huge problem that I have. Like, every time I see that, I get really frustrated. There was a Nora Roberts, the one that starts with Year One, but that series does the same thing. There's a global pandemic and somehow the grid goes down. And I don't know, I guess maybe it hits different now, but I mean, we're living in a global pandemic and somehow we've been able to keep the grid on. And honestly, some of them aren't that different from what we're experiencing now. The one in Station 11 is a little bit different because people were like dropping dead like that. But in year one, it's very much like what we're experiencing now. It was an H1N1 virus. Like people were trying to wear masks. Read that if you give that one a try. Like that was kind of eerily similar to what we experienced, especially at the beginning of the whole thing. But I don't get it. I don't get the grid collapse. Like, I don't get that whole thing, why writers think that would be a thing that happens. Please let me know if you understand why writers think that's a thing that happens, or if they just use that arbitrarily because they think that it makes it, ooh, things are bad. Which is what I think is more like. But there you go. There's my thoughts. It's probably like the most ranty you're ever going to see me, unless I'm talking about forcing kids to do homework. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I will be back with more interesting stuff. Until next time, bye.